Pledge allegiance and the prayer, please. I pledge
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear Father God, thank you for all the blessings you so freely give us. We are truly humbled by your hand of grace regarding the protection over our police, our fire, our schools, our service, and our administration. And that we say thank you. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Councilman Schultz. Muscatello, roll call, please.
Ms. Grazia? Here. Mr. Hamer?
Here.
Mr. Schultz?
Here.
Mr. Smolik?
Here.
Ms. Simons? Here. Mr. Ziegler? Mr.
Ziegler will not be
Fenstermaker?
joining us today. So it'll be the six of us. Okay, now we're on.
Yes, here.
Sorry.
It's okay. We're just right
Oh,
behind.
sorry. We're right by you, Mr. Fenstermaker. Sorry about that. Now we go on. Are we going to jump to Eagle Scouts today, Mr. Mayor Potter?
So if you were to do that, you would have to entertain a motion to suspend the rules of council.
Is that what we want to do right now, Mr. Lello? For the
It's up to you. You're the council
Okay,
president.
let's suspend the rules of council to allow the Eagle Scouts to present today.
Is there,
I'd make a motion to suspend the rules of council.
Second.
Second by Ms. Grazia.
you could just do general vote. All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any
Aye,
opposed?
aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Any opposed?
None opposed. All right.
Mr. McCrory? How you doing, good sir? See ya.
Thank you.
Oh, okay.
Doubles, there we go. Floor is yours.
Okay. My name is Isabel Copeland. My address is 9898 Chillicothe Road. I am from Troop 286G. I am currently working on my Eagle Scout project. My project is to create a memorial to honor POW MIA soldiers. There are currently 83,049 soldiers and sailors who are currently missing or unaccounted for. The POW MIA program is a program that will not stop until all United States personnel are accounted for. I would like to honor the missing soldiers and sailors by placing a POW MIA memorial area at Kirtland Veterans Memorial. The POW MIA symbol, which will be placed on a memorial bench, along with the words, "You are not forgotten," was designed by Newt Heisley to represent hope, anxiety, and sorrow for the missing soldiers and sailors. The design is based off his son's face to represent the harsh conditions these soldiers and sailors faced. I think it is important to always remember these soldiers and their sacrifices for our freedom, not only on Memorial Day and Veterans Day, but every day. This project will be added to the existing Kirtland Veterans Memorial, consisting of an honor bench, pavers, and stanchions surrounding the area. A placard sign explaining the significance of this memorial will be placed next to the area. I have been and will continue to work with Mr. McCrory on the design and development of this project. I have also discussed this project with the president of Rolling Thunder and the Kirtland Service Department. I will lead scouts and other volunteers to complete this project. I have created a project board in my design to share with you. I am raising money through donations of cash, checks, and GoFundMe. Our goal is to finish this project by Veterans Day or November 11th. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you very much. What are you approximating the total for the project to be for donations?
About the total cost of the project is about $3,400. So,
I would like to donate, so please contact me, please.
okay.
Are there any missing Kirtland soldiers?
I mean, I'm not exactly sure the numbers, but are there?
soldiers?
Best of luck with that. I'm sure you're going to get the
Thank
funding.
you.
Okay, thank you.
Just, you could state your name and address and then.
Keith McCurry, 8117 Euclid Chardon Road. So what Isabel was able to hand out to you is the rendering of how it is now and how it will be, the view. But more importantly is the white piece of paper has the GoFundMe. You see code on there if you would like to donate on that. So yes,
Is there somewhere we can go, like on Facebook or whatever, where there's the GoFundMe?
That-
Just click on that, just to,
it's the
did you share it?
Okay, so
yes.
No, so we could share it.
Yeah.
'Cause if you share it, you get.
Yes. So we have one of the best veteran memorials in Lake County in Ohio. But I really feel that this will enhance it even more, and just a great opportunity and opportunity for Izzy to. She approached me about that. That was awesome, and I'm full support of it. And I want to. Well, Joe's not here, but Joe's been helping out a lot for our. So yeah. Any questions?
Isabel, yeah, thank you so much. And I think I love the design. I love what you're going for. So any help we can be here in the city, and obviously Mr. Finaro will be a big help to you. But I'm sure a lot of us will contribute what we can. Good luck, and yeah, just keep us posted with what you need. Okay. All right, and thanks, Keith.
besides, you have the Kiwanis Citizen of the Year helping you out over here too.
So, and also at this time, as American Legion commander, but also in charge of the Kirtland Veterans Memorial, I'm offering an invitation for everybody to come on November 11th at 11 o'clock. We'll have hopefully a bigger ceremony to unveil the new MIA POW bench at the Kirtland Veterans Memorial. Thank you, everybody.
I have one. Thank you, Isabella, for sewing into the city here with your time and talents and with your troop leaders. They've done a great job over the years. When are you actually going to break ground? When is the day of that? When your troop coalesces? Yeah, you're fundraising now, but when? Okay.
October, second week of October is when they were planning on breaking ground and have it completed by November 11th. So we could dedicate it on November 11th.
Should look at a little under 2-week project to complete then.
Yes. So it'll be completed by then.
I just like to show up when they do their Eagle Scout projects. My son was an Eagle as well, so it means a lot to me.
Yeah, well, I'll let you know.
Thank you.
And maybe, I'm not sure if yourself or the commander could talk to how many Eagle Scouts are produced through Kirtland, comparatively speaking to the other. You guys produce a lot of Eagle Scouts over here. Name and address, please, Bert.
My name is Mike Hill. I live at 10701 Tibbetts Road. So Isabel will be our second Eagle Scout with 286G, which is an all-girls scout troop. So yeah, pretty excited. We have about 3 more coming up behind her. So
Mr. Councilman Schultz, what do they have on the boys side of it? They've had, I think there's been 10 or 12 since I've been on council myself almost.
Yeah,
Easily.
It's been established much longer.
and we just had one boy get his Eagle Scout, so I'm sure he'll be being awarded his certificate pretty soon.
You're doing fantastic work. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you all.
Anything else from the Boy Scouts, Eagle Scouts? Thank you very much. Okay, on to, so do we need to come out, Mr. Lallo? Just go back.
No, you're good. You just proceed now.
Public hearing on ordinance number 24-0-53, which is the third reading on ordinance amending codified sections 1294.04, 1294.05, 1294.06, 1294.07.08, 1294.09, 1294.10. Thank you. Keep this one, please. 1294.10, 1294.11, 1294.12, 1294.99 relating to the riparian setbacks and declaring an emergency. This is a public hearing. So if anyone had anything to add or speak on this ordinance, Now is your time to speak on it. No questions at this time? Thank you.
So at this point, the public hearing will be closed? Is that
Public,
right?
okay, at this point, public hearing be closed. We need a,
You do not need a motion to close the public hearing, but you can
just close
declare
it.
that as council president. Yep.
okay, we will close this public hearing at this time. Thank you. Okay, now on to the reading and approval of the minutes of July 1st, 2024 work session. Looking for a motion to approve.
Motion to adopt?
Second.
Do we have a second?
A second.
Second, Ms. Grazia? Janelle, roll call, please.
Ms. Grazia?
Yes.
Mr. Hamer?
Yes.
Mr. Schultz?
Yes.
Mr. Smolik?
Yes.
Ms. Simmons?
Yes.
Mr. Fenstermaker?
Yes.
Thank you. On to the minutes of the July 1st, 2024 council meeting. Looking for a motion.
Motion to adopt?
Second.
Ms. Grazia for the second. Mr. Schultz with the motion.
Ms. Grazia?
Yes.
Mr. Hamer?
Yes.
Mr. Schultz?
Yes.
Mr. Smolik?
Yes.
Ms. Simons?
Yes.
Mr. Ziegler? Oh, Mr. Fenstermaker?
Yes.
On to the minutes of the July 8th, 2024 council meeting. Looking for a motion to adopt.
So moved.
Second?
Ms. Simmons with, is that Mr. Schultz or Mr.?
Ms. Simons.
Okay, second,
Mr. Schultz.
okay. Okay, Ms. Muscatello, roll call on that, please.
Ms. Grazia?
Yes.
Mr. Hamer?
Yes.
Mr. Schultz?
Yes.
Mr. Smolik?
Yes,
Ms. Simons?
Yes.
Mr. Fenstermaker?
Yes.
thank you. To department reports. Who do we have here?
Captain Matt Killeen filling in for Chief Hutton. I don't have a formal report tonight. I know he did submit the run for July, and I'm here to answer any general questions that I can, if somebody has anything for me.
Any questions for the captain today? Thank you.
Well,
Oh, sorry, go right ahead.
I don't know if this is going to be a combined effort or who wants to address, but kind of looking for an overall summary with the tornado and everything, what the responses were and calls, and do we have any numbers on that?
Yeah, I have a little bit of data here I can share with that.
Okay. I don't want to steal the police chief's thunder though, so I don't know. Okay.
So we ran a report, and from 8/6 to 8/9 for our department, we ran 100 calls. In July, for the whole month, we did 130. So it just goes to show we were extremely busy. But I think all the departments worked well together, and we handled it. So I've been here 30 years, and that was a doozy.
Thank you.
Spoke with Chief Hutton earlier in the week just to talk about the chiefs and any issues they had at all. And the only real thing I heard was a bit with the communication that you guys are one of the radio lines or some, what was it exactly with the going to voicemail on a couple of things?
Yeah, it was with the new phone systems because they're not analog anymore. So basically we lost power to them. We didn't have internet for them. So the general voicemail was rolling over to Chief Hutton's email, but he could only get it in certain spots in the building through his phone because of the poor reception. So we actually remedied that every shift commander, whether it be a captain or lieutenant, will always get all that general voicemail. So it'll roll over to our phones and hopefully we'll be able to retrieve it. But obviously we really want everybody to call 911. That's most important.
Outstanding, thank you.
I don't know if you guys have had a chance to kind of review those 100 calls to see if there's any potential for us to put anything on the website for future reference for people about power outages and things like that. I know I got some questions about refilling oxygen tanks that I was able to reach out to the chief and find out that you guys could do and things like that. But when you guys get a chance, if you can kind of look at that and see if there's anything that we could put permanently on the website so people could reference in the event of an event in the future, in the event of an event in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. We did definitely fill some O2 tanks for people, and we helped people with some generators that they needed for different things. And yeah, we can definitely look into that. I do know One thing that's really important, the following day, which was my shift, we went on a lot of CO calls for people's generators. So having those CO detectors working, that would be a huge, point to put out there that we could add, and we'll look at other things too.
Yeah, that would be great just to put on the city website for future reference for people with their phones could look that up. Thank you.
Much appreciated. Thank you. Any other questions? Chief McAllister.
Thank you, Council President Smolik. Just going into the storm, police, we didn't have a tremendous amount of calls. A lot of them were just basically the assistance calls to the fire departments, checking on phone lines down, trees in the road, things of that nature. I did want to recognize the community for their efforts during the storm. The residents showed tremendous patience, teamwork, and resilience. There were people out helping cut trees up, getting them off the roadway, in addition to the service department, helping their neighbors that didn't have generators. They were dragging extension cords across yards and plugging them into their generators in order to provide power so the refrigerators could keep running. And it was just the teamwork and the camaraderie within the residents and the community really stood out during this storm. I think we all kind of learned the value of having alternative energy sources in our homes. So those that don't have generators, I would recommend looking to get something for an event like this. I'd also recommend that people have some type of a stockpile of food, water, medicine if they're on it, and whatever other essentials they need to last a week or two in the event that we do get something like this that puts us in a position where a lot of the city was landlocked. If you didn't know where to go in the community, it was like driving through a puzzle. So, it's just, it took several days to get those streets cleared so people, could get to other places. The second thing I wanted to talk about was our search for our personnel. We have several active part-time candidates that we're looking into, and we're currently screening those people. I gave a commencement speech for Lakeland Community College Academy. I had 2 people approach me with interest there. I have yet to receive an application. Currently, we don't have any full-time applicants that are viable at this point, so we're continuing there. I'm working at putting a NTN test, National Testing Network test, for an entry-level exam together. That'll be a civil service exam, and hopefully we can get some entry-level people and build a list to pick from. And the other thing on the agenda tonight is ordinance number 24R56. That's the resolution authorizing the in-car and body cameras. I would ask that council pass that tonight if possible. I have everything set up to move forward on the project. I have a meeting starting tomorrow. All the funds have been appropriated for the project. Everything is in line, and we had discussed. So I would like to try to get everything in place by mid-September if that's possible, in terms of getting all the installations and everything done in the cars. But so just so the community knows, the total program's $105,480. That's over 5 years. The cost this year is $34,056. Each year after that is going to be $17,856. That covers the cost of the dashboard cameras, the body cameras, all the docking, the wireless. It also pays for cloud-based services, so all the data is stored in the cloud, and redaction. So it's a very comprehensive program, and this was the best price we could find for what we needed. But that'll conclude my report. I'm certainly open for any questions if you have them.
Mr. Fenton, I'll ask Mr. Maker, Mr. Hamer, are we good? You guys good with that? You guys have kind of led the drive with that a bit. Any questions pertaining to that, sir?
No, I appreciate the work in pulling this together. Thank you. I just think it's a good thing for our police department and the city to have, protects the officers and the city. The only question I have right now is, as we launch this, procedures and I guess controls, once these dash cams go in, how will they be activated, and how will you manage that part of it?
So I'll be managing along with Lieutenant Fisher. We'll be monitoring, managing the program. Officers will have access to view their videos and such, but they don't have the ability to edit or change any information in there. So anything in terms of that, there should be zero issues. So just if that's a question, but anything else?
No, that's basically what I was looking for.
I think just to answer some of your question, the way it works, it's like constantly recording, but as soon as you hit your lights, it'll go back and really save it from, I think, 90 seconds or 2 minutes. It's whatever the setting is, yeah. So then it'll automatically go back to that point.
It'll snip at that block
Yeah.
leading into it,
Yeah.
Mr. Lello.
Yeah,
It's going to automatically record whenever there's a traffic stop.
it's constantly rolling, and even a feature with this program. Let's say that I drove by something and later I find out that we had an incident happen, but I was in the area at that time. I can actually physically go back in the camera and create an event during that time frame, and it'll suck that video out and create an event for me so I can go back and review it. So a lot of good features to the program.
Awesome. Thanks for the explanation. Thank you.
Thank you,
Mr.
Chief.
Levin?
Captain and Chief, I'd just like to publicly thank you for everybody's hard work during the storm. As you did mention, it was quite a puzzle to get around town, and I really appreciate the Facebook posts of what roads did become open, given, I had to have some work done at my house, and the people were trying to get to me couldn't get there. So that I felt that was pretty key, and just very appreciative of that, and the amount of man hours that I can imagine that everybody put in was really, really good. I know that Mr. Finaro was out on a big machine pushing trees off of Hobart. He actually got me home. I just happened to get stuck in that, so I just wanted to share that with you all. Thank you.
And that we are on this discussion pertaining to the storm, obviously, up to 6 days or 7 days the longest in Portland? I was 6. I think it was longer. I think we had a couple that were 7 days possibly. I'm not quite sure. Were 6 the limit on it, basically?
I think down on Wisner, they may have hit that 7th day.
Okay, I think there may have been a couple people up to that. Per council, I got the majority of text calls / messages I received was for whether the city was going to do brush removal, which Mr. Fernaro was starting on by that Monday. Actually, he got out. What was the biggest amount of calls, so to speak, that you received over the course of those 5-6 days? Was there anything in particular?
I only had 2 calls the entire time.
Okay.
And that was just questioning, if there was power on my street.
Okay.
That's it.
Yeah, most I received was whether we were picking brush up, and I said, just, hey, once we get it straightened out with the storm. I thought it'd be a week later, but Mr. Bernardo was out literally the next day. I think they did all of that week. They were collecting brush, and there's rather large piles of much. If anybody needs wood chips, we got enough to bury your house right now, I believe, right now, so.
Yeah, I don't know if we can answer this question without Joe here, but I'm still getting questions about how lenient we're going to be about the regular brush versus this particular situation, when they're coming, where they're going to be, all of that kind of stuff. Can we answer that yet, or do we need Joe?
I would imagine, Mayor Potter, that we're going to make multiple.
Yeah, so,
The city.
yeah, they've already made a few sweeps through the city, so as they're, manifesting on people's front, lawns or along the roadways, they're swinging back and getting them. As far as leniency, I would just ask that we try to adhere as closely as we can to the guidelines we have on the website, because the chippers, it can only do so much, as new as it is. But we've seen a lot of tree removal companies putting stuff out by the road. We're not going to pick that up. We can't pick that up. We don't have any way to do anything with that. So I imagine we'll be getting some calls. Why didn't you pick this up? And the answer is just going to be because we can't. Hundreds and hundreds have already been picked up, and I think that'll continue to be the case. I do have a couple of those statistics when it gets to my report related to that. So,
Mayor, I do have Joe sent me some pictures from day one of what they picked up and what they shredded through that shredder, and I have them. I think it'd be nice to put those out on the website and just kind of show them some of the activity, on the cleanup side. But who do I send those pictures to? They can put them out there.
yeah, send them to
Zari,
Teresa.
there's raising her hand.
Yeah, and I guess I'll just say the latest report from Joe is that the brush pile collected to date is roughly 30 feet tall and 50 feet long, and the wood chip pile is about the same size. So it tells you,
Awesome.
and there's still a lot to pick up yet.
And per-
And so if residents contact you, either contact Joe on their behalf or have them go through the service line on the website, whichever is more convenient for them and you are more comfortable with.
And the recommendation would be that if they have, because I know there are people that have big logs and stuff like that, that we don't have the physical ability to pick up, that they call a tree service company, or how do you get that?
Theoretically, the chipper shredder is up to 15 inches, but pertaining to the service department workers, we're generally saying up to 3-inch in diameter and smaller piles, just because we can't be. And this goes to one of the other questions I had, what people brought up. You know, hey, I got a tree in the backyard, fell on a shed or something like that. I was like, unfortunately, I go, that's a private property issue. I go, the city's responsible for the 30-foot right of way from center line. And so we cleared up all the tree, and I went and saw a couple residents, and they're like, oh, I had to pay this much to get a tree up. I'm like, well, I've spent $10,000-15,000 removing trees from my property. Unfortunately, it's your box that you live in. You're responsible for the property, so to speak. You know, in that kind of case. So the city isn't responsible for, clearing all the trees down in the backyards, that type of thing.
Understood. I'm just trying to help
believe
people find.
Mr. Fernaro would probably agree on that.
In the case of the ones that have been set there by the tree companies, I would suggest they call their tree company back, or their landscaper, or whoever put them there. Again, leniency will be obviously something that happens, and I'm sure it already has.
We can handle.
But we've got to be respectful of the equipment and the fact that we need to get to other people as well.
And like I said, I felt bad. You see some people had a lot of damage, particularly along Monterey. You didn't see much along the street, but I saw some of the backyards that I was invited to see, and they had 5-6 trees come down, whether it was a pool or a, house. And like, unfortunately, that's a, an insurance issue, so to speak, on that, as opposed to the city. So any other questions pertaining to the storm, so to speak? Okay. Thank you, Chiefs. Mr. Cortland.
Thank you. Welcome back, everyone. I'll start with the 24 streets. Work on Forestdale, Westwood, Woodhill, Monterey, which are recycle streets, should start within the next 2 weeks. They're a little behind schedule. The recycling machine's hung up on another job right now. Shawthorne, the Parkwood area is scheduled to start in mid-September. We're getting some new crossover pipes. Some have already been installed in the Forestdale area, and we're working on getting some new crossover pipes under the pavement before it's repaved in the Parkwood area. And also a project for repaving the community center parking lot has been advertised. Bids will be open for that on August 30th. Old Town Sewers, all the main lines are installed. I think they're just working on service laterals on Joseph Street. And paving operations for Elm and Fairview should start in the next couple of weeks. Joe and I are going to be meeting the contractor to do a walkthrough this week on that. 306 Bridge, the southbound half of the bridge is pretty much complete. Contractor is just doing some finish grading around the bridge. And the traffic change order may happen tomorrow, not sure. That project, if everyone recalls, is scheduled to be completed in late October, early November. Booth Road Bridge, we had a pre-construction meeting on August 1st with the county and the contractor. Detour signage has been installed. The detour route is Eagle to Kirtland Chardon. And that detour was scheduled to begin today, but Joe went out this afternoon and it hadn't started yet, so they may not be ready to start that project quite yet. That project's scheduled to be complete by the end of September.
Any questions for Mr. Courtney pertaining to all the
What did you say about traffic change? I didn't hear that part.
The traffic changeover for the 306 bridge should flip sides.
It's staying the same.
So the direction's staying the same. They'll just use the new side of the bridge for traffic while they build the other side.
So are they saying they're on schedule to be done in November?
They can say that.
What's that? Yeah, I'm not sure where they are in their schedule. I know the last the last progress meeting, they said they were on schedule, but we haven't had another meeting since then.
The original end date was what, late October? And that-
Late October, yeah.
Okay.
If we can ask if they feel like they're still on schedule, because it sure seems like they're not. but-
According to their Facebook post, they'll finish by the end of the year.
Yeah,
So getting an update.
I'll check
I'm
in
gonna,
with
I'm
them.
gonna vote that says that they're not on schedule, because there's no way that bridge is gonna be done in time now. So I think, you know, the reality is, it's
Proper
not
assessment.
done. It's not gonna be done on time, obviously, which I do have a question. I know there was a pretty significant accident on that, on 306 the other day. I don't know, was it on the bridge or was it north of the bridge? And can you give us any insight of what happened with that?
It was an ACDA accident, a sure clear distance. So somebody rear-ended another person and pushed them into the car in front of them.
Okay.
So it's, yeah, I saw there was some reports that people were saying it was a head-on collision, and that wasn't the case.
Yeah.
So it was just somebody not paying attention.
So it wasn't a wrong way, it wasn't a wrong way accident, correct? Okay.
All right, so it was an ACD? Okay, thank you.
And for the Old Town, they're looking on time for the Old Town project, Mr. Courtney. We're finishing up on that approximately.
I think as far as their scheduled completion date, they might be a little bit behind, but they're pretty close.
What is the scheduled completion date?
I don't remember exactly what it was. I think it was late September, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'd have to look that up.
Just for the next meeting, if you could get updates on all those, just
Sure thing.
appreciate it, Mr. Courtney. Thank you. Any other questions for Mr. Courtney?
Mr. Courtney, oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Is the Booth Road a full closure?
Booth Road is a full closure between Eagle and
Or single foot?
Kirtland Shard. Thank you.
But do you know if so that's are they putting a full box in or are they rebuilding the structure?
Superstructure only.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank
And
you.
what was that start date, Mr. Courtney, on that?
They were supposed to start today,
Okay, start today. Okay.
but I know they had when we had the pre-construction meeting, there was a water main issue that came up that they needed to resolve, so that probably pushed them off a little bit.
And two, that had a few people thinking that Route 6 in Willoughby was closing, but that's a next year project, spring to summer, was it? Okay. Okay. Thank you.
I don't know if this is a Doug question. It feels like a Joe question, but do we have any kind of schedule from First Energy? I'm sure that whatever they did to get us up and running was what they did to get us up and running. But there's still a bunch of power lines that are kind of hanging low, and I'm sure there's a bunch of trimming that still needs to happen. Does anybody have any kind of indicator from them as sort of what their plan is for actually like the permanent fix for a lot of that stuff?
Julie, do me a favor and send me an email either tonight or tomorrow, and I will get a hold of Wendy Zelay.
Okay. I would appreciate just kind of knowing, because we
Wendy
just let
Zealy.
people know, because I would imagine at some point they may need to shut something down for a little bit while they make a more permanent fix, and just be good to let everybody know.
Yep, smart.
Okay.
And to Mrs. Simmons' point, I have a few questions for later on. Obviously, once things get squared up on the illuminating company uses the pen line or various tree trimming companies that we need to look into a bit how they trim the trees. Route 6 coming up the Rockwood, it's just they shave them down a little bit below. They look like crap. You know, Mr. Slapnecker knows it. They need to, you know, we need to assess, and I don't know if that, as a city, we can recommend or mandate that they don't do the radius around the branches, as opposed to Mr. Schultz, you probably know a bit better on how they run that.
Terribly. It looks like a really bad haircut.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And
I've got bad hair, so I know that's bad, so, okay. But that'll obviously be something in October, November, once we catch up a bit on this.
you know, I
Thank
think
you, Mr. Courtney. Mr. Slapnecker.
Thank you, Council President Smolik. During our work session, we did a review of the current budget to actual, where we stand, through August 8th of 2024. So if you have any additional questions, please feel free to reach out to me. You also have a signed acknowledgement form in front of you that's related to Auditor of State Bulletin 2024-005, which I sent out emails to all of council. Don't forget to do your training, and that also went out citywide as well. We had a few meetings here in the finance department during that summer recess. One of them was I met with Eileen Stanek of Meter Investments. Just to give you a quick synopsis of who they are, Meter is an investment advisory firm that has a dedicated public funds team. They are co-investment advisor to Star Ohio, which is managed through the Ohio Treasurer's Office. Some local municipalities that use them include Bedford, Brecksville, Chardon, Euclid, Mentor, Painesville, Solon, and Willoughby. So the goal with Meter Investments would be to first implement an investment policy, which would go through council's approval. We need an updated policy first and foremost. The next part would be to prepare some cash flow analysis to identify some funds that we could potentially invest in. Only certain investments are allowable under the ORC, one of which would be U.S. Treasuries. Obviously, the goal would be to preserve principal. We're in no business of taking on any risk. So what we look at would be very careful, and it would follow that investment policy, which again is under ORC code. Okay. Currently, the city only invests in Star Ohio, which has been around 5%. I pulled some rates. You can go on Star Ohio's website and look at some historical data. That amounts to about $3,000 per month in interest. So we might have some options to leverage some of those funds. So those discussions will continue. And if council would like, we could have Eileen come in and have a presentation to council as well. So stay tuned on that front. The audit is currently ongoing. They will be on site this week. And then any requests that council gets, please respond accordingly to the Auditor of State's office. If you have any issues, please let me know, and then I could contact them as well. In September, we're going to start some capital budget meetings with the department heads. We're going to get an early start on it this year. I'm looking at a 3-year projection for capital expenditures for something that I'm working on as well within the finance department. Last week or 2 weeks ago, I attended the court allocation meeting. What was discussed was court allocation costs to the cities, among other items within the court's operations. Just to give you some perspective, the 2023 first half expenditures for the city of Kirtland was around $19,000. The 2024 first half is $31,380, right? So the way that they calculate that is just based on a percentage of case files, right?
Can you repeat those numbers again?
Yeah. Around $19,000, it was around $19,000 and change for the first half allocation of 2023. And we're at $31,380 for the first half of 2024.
What does that dollar figure correspond to? I'm missing something here.
So basically, the court takes all of their costs, less all of their fees and revenues, right? And it gives you that bottom line number, basically an operating deficit for the court. So based on the number of case files that each jurisdiction has within that court, we're allocated a percentage of that over under for the court's operations. I believe we were around 10% of their case files off the top of my head. Back in 2023, we had a new hire firefighter grant that was awarded to us. So our costs have actually been coming in a little bit under what we were awarded for. So it was set to term out on 12/31/2024. But in contact with them, they're actually going to extend us through to 2025 so that we can utilize the full amount of the grant. So they actually pre-funded us, not an additional, but they just pre-funded us what was left on the grant in the amount of $269,302.88. As far as the legislation that is on the agenda, we do have an amended appropriations. I did send out some line item changes to council this afternoon. I figured I would go through that detail once we got to the reading of that legislation, which I'm looking at to hopefully get passed this evening. We also have the Ohio Deferred Comp Roth Plan. So in the finance department, we're trying to look at some employee benefits to offer employees citywide with no cost to the city. So one of which is, right now we have one plan, it's the Ohio Deferred Comp, which is pre-tax. Ohio Deferred Comp also came out with a Roth plan, which is taxed up front, and then your investments are tax-free as they earn, right? So based on our codified ordinances, we do want to run this through legislation just to authorize the finance department to offer that to our employees, okay? quick note on the dashboard cameras. The legislation reads the full cost over that entire period, but I just did want to note that within the 2024 appropriations, we do have the full $34,056 for year one already appropriated. Okay. Lastly, some upcoming legislation that you'll look out for. Again, in speaking to what we can offer the employees from some additional benefits at no cost to the city, we've talked with Ohio 529 plan. This is a college education plan so that employees can have a payroll deduction that is state tax free that goes directly into college savings for the children. We will have the certifying rates by the county for the property taxes here upcoming. And then as part of the amended appropriations, we have some grant awards that we would like to run past council, just accepting those grants. But we do have it in this amended appropriations. With that, that concludes my report, and I'm available for any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Slapnicker. Any questions for Mr. Slapnicker?
Lewis, regarding the court costs, the increase from 23 to 24, is there a way we can see what 21 and 22 were, just even 20? I'd like to see what that progression is over 5 years, if it's stagnant or if it's continuously increasing just based on administrative costs with the court.
I'll send that out tomorrow.
Thank you.
I believe that was a pretty good jump from 23 to 22, 23, right? That was pretty flat for a while. Then we have a bit of a jump.
I did look at it earlier today, and it was, I believe, in 21, 22, it was relatively flat. But
Yeah,
don't quote me on that. I'll take a look again.
Louis, I had a question on that. Where do we stand on fine money from the courts? Is it, I would assume with the increasing cases, we're probably getting some more fine money. I know a good chunk of that might go back to the court or to the state, but I wasn't sure if those...
Yeah, I did take a look at the fine money as well.
Yeah.
It looks like it is following suit with some of those additional expenditures that we're incurring. We are up slightly in the fines and forfeitures line item as far as the revenues, but I can pair that with Councilman Fenstermaker.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if those would kind of zero out each other or...
It doesn't quite.
Okay.
So yeah, I'll get you some information on that.
Just so I know, going forward for recommending fines and costs, if I need to increase various recommendations.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if it's a lack of people paying and then, the judicial process. You obviously know a lot more about that than myself. So, but that could be one contributing factor as well.
Louis, prior to the meeting, we spoke briefly about, the reappraisal of everybody's property here in the city of Kirtland. And I was wondering if it would be possible if you could put together a worksheet for council to be able to help people understand the difference between inside millage and outside millage and how that reappraisal value will affect them. We won't see that tax bill for, I think, another 6 months, but to, I guess, quell some of the concern over large tax bill hitting them,
Yeah, so I won't go into too much detail because we can provide something online, but just kind of from a high level between inside and outside millage. Outside millage is anything that went through the vote of the people, right? So this would be a special levy for X amount of dollars that we want to raise per year, right? So Ohio has House Bill 920 in place. So if someone were to, with these reevaluations, those dollars from outside millage remain the same. You don't get an increase on a special levy that was voted. So that House bill, that's a reduction factor that keeps those dollars the same. So anything with, reevaluations on property, that does not apply to outside millage. So we do have two inside millage, which obviously is the general fund, and then we have a police pension fund as well. So you would see, if property values were to rise, you would see an uptick on that inside millage. So we can put something together, a summary page or something that residents can reference on the website.
Thank you, Louis.
Any other questions pertaining to that? I did, pertaining to property tax, obviously everybody's probably received that the last day or a couple days. Have you received your?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm up, I'll tell you right now, quick picture of it. So I don't know where everybody else was at with it, but I went from, come on.
I'm going to appeal mine, just so you know.
Yeah.
You have to do it by September 14th.
I'm well aware.
I went from a $266,840 appraisal to a 370,140 appraisals of 38.7%. I didn't get to read through the article today in the Herald. I believe Geauga County is offering something pertaining to the storm, like a tax credit type of thing or something. So did you see that article? I don't know what that pertains to or something, so
Yeah,
obviously.
you could seek property tax relief if you have certain damages. I don't know all the ins and outs, but that's the gist of it.
Oh, okay, okay. Yeah, I have a little house in Euclid, and I think that was up 49% also, so. So it'll be interesting. I'm sure I'm starting to see it already, so. Any other questions for Mr. Slapnecker?
Louis, relative to what you had mentioned in the work session, this would be the second half of 2023's tax payout is coming. That's roughly $350,000, 400,000. Is it somewhere in that neighborhood?
Depends on what fund you're looking at. Let me pull something up real quick.
It doesn't have to be an exact number. Just
I believe off the top of my head, it's more than that. Let me get back to you because I got to log in.
no, that's fine. That's fine.
Any other questions then? Any other for Mr. Slapnecker? Then we will go on to Mr. Lallo. Mr. Lallo, any updates or anything?
I have no formal report for you unless you have questions for me.
Any questions for Mr. Lallo?
I have a question regarding the status of the Richards Maple Farms and the
Yeah.
fencing and
Sure.
provide
So-
council update.
Sure. They are putting the fence up. It should be done, I believe. But I think they still need to get final permitting from the county. And I think this was all happening as a tornado was going through and the county is all upside down. From my understanding, the contractor was told, get it done and we'll come out and take a look at it. I don't know. That's third party. But the Richards Maple does need to get the entire property in compliance. I believe that we got a correspondence from the female owner, Jen, I try to remember her name, indicating that they've been working on it and the lights have come down. They've been working with First Energy with that. They got rid of the recycling bin and I think they were working on the masonry enclosure for the dumpster. So it sounds like there's been good progress. However, Mr. Morgano did give them an August 23rd deadline to get it done. So we are hopeful that they will be done by the end of the week.
Mr. Lallo, I was under the impression at the PZA meeting that Reese was installing the fence.
Yes.
So he's not using a general contractor to do the fence. He doesn't need to.
If he has a contractor's permit, he's allowed to do it. So a fence must be installed by a contractor, and it's my understanding that he did pull a contractor's permit from the city. And there also was conversation regarding that fence and whether that the design of it is appropriate. And I think everybody can agree, aesthetically, you may not like. But according to the letter of the law, it's a strict interpretation as to what is written on behalf, and it actually goes against the city.
Can you do me a favor?
Yeah.
And just read that ordinance in because
Yeah.
obviously that ordinance needs changed.
And
So I'd like to read it in so that we can go to planning and zoning and get it changed.
Yeah, 'cause what's the difference between a screen and a fence?
Yeah, it
So-
needs to be defined.
and that's-
And we understand that. That's the little loophole. I'm going to call it out.
That's
for what it
exactly
is.
right, and
It's a loophole.
yes.
So it needs change so it's not a loophole going forward. So
Okay.
I'd love if you would read that in.
So,
126804?
no, it's 1290. So 1290, oh, here, let me at least pull up the ordinance itself. Sorry, I just gotta find it.
I apologize.
No, you're fine.
While Mr. Lalo's looking to answer your question, Mr. Schultz, the first half on our property tax line, and just the general fund was $417,812.07.
Get that 7 cents. That's
It's always down to the penny. That's
Yeah, I know. Thank you, Louis.
Okay, so when looking at 1290.02, the definitions, the first definition is fence. It's a continuous man-made structure or device or the placement of hedges, trees, bushes, or other plants intended to enclose or delineate an otherwise open area of land. So a continuous man-made structure or device. Then you go to privacy fence. And here's where the issue is. It says privacy fence means a fence made to inhibit public view and provide seclusion, period. Examples of permitted privacy fences are lattice weave or woven, palisade, board on board, solid wall, right? The issue we have is it says examples are. Initially, when I first read this, I read it as those are the only 5 types of privacy fences you can have. That's not what it says. It says a privacy fence is a fence that's made to inhibit public view and provide seclusion. So a fence, something that is man-made and whatnot, and then inhibit public view and provide seclusion. And technically,
That's where the difference is, the prohibited.
exactly. And then what we have here is examples of them are those 5. What it really should read is permitted privacy fences are boom, 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 right? Not examples, right? So now if you say permitted privacy fences are these 5, anything else must go before planning and zoning or must go before whatever. If you want any other type of privacy fence, you must first seek approval before doing it. And that's the issue, is the way our ordinance is written, it's actually a very general definition. And unfortunately, that was utilized to our detriment.
So what do we need to do as council to get this back in front of PZNA and get that changed?
I believe planning and zoning is already aware of it. In fact, they are set to meet September 9th, I believe, and Mr. Morong and I are actually switching roles next month. I'm going to be sitting through that meeting, and I could present that to them to put on their agenda. And Mr. Morong actually is going to be attending council's meeting the week after.
I'll be proposing new language for that and then
Correct.
in front of council, correct? Okay.
Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Lalo. Any other questions?
Thank you for pulling it up. Appreciate it.
Couple more. This might go back to the mayor.
Schultz, real quick. If you want, Mr. Lalo, Mrs. Arian.
Okay. Relative to our ordinances being updated online.
Yes,
Do we have a
so-
update on that?
Yeah, as soon as 24053 and the other one that we have on the agenda today for 254.25, if that passes today, I would actually, and 822, I would love to get it updated as soon as possible. So the riparian setbacks was a pretty, there's a lot of sections there that were to be updated, so I would like to get it done immediately. Yeah.
So we need to pass 24053 tonight.
I think it'd be
That would
prudent
help
to
us.
do so, yeah.
It
Yeah,
is the
50
third reading.
50, yeah, correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, if we could do 53, 55, which is the solicitors, right? And 60. I know Mr. Slapnicker also mentioned a couple others, but I think if we can get those passed tonight, then that'll give us the green light to work through the rest of it and get that updated.
One of the last things, Mr. Lalo, is does the city have a policy relative to like a public records request?
We have, I think we do. Yeah, Mr. Slapnicker shaking his head.
We do actually looked at it. It's on the bulletin board right out in the hallway, posted.
Thank you.
Louis, you might have said this. You need 59 passed tonight?
Yes, that would help. Now, within that amended appropriation are 2 grants as well, but we can't act on that until the legislation comes through council on the next agenda, but everything else would be helpful.
Okay, thank you. Mayor, did you say anything about R57? Whether or not we needed to pass that tonight, or?
Other than Mr. Courtney, what he says, but we are holding up final payment until we get that closeout ordinance passed. So for them to be paid, that would need to be passed tonight.
And it's been a bit since they submitted their invoicing. It took a while to get the closeout documents together, so I think prompt payment would be appropriate.
Okay, thanks.
Sorry about that, Mr. Pastermaker. Where were we?
You didn't miss anything.
Okay. Oh, Ron Mayor's report. Sorry, did we go to Ms. Zeri?
We did not.
Ms. Zeri, oh, we were going on to the mayor's report. I've gotcha. Okay. Ms. Zeri, please. Senior and Community Center, please.
Good evening, Council. Welcome back. Obviously echoing everyone else's thanks and gratitude to the departments. Specifically, I answered 2 different phone lines. So all the specific questions that I got that I directed towards police and fire, I know they were followed up efficiently and well. So thank you very, very much for that. A special note of gratitude to Mr. Finaro and the Public Works Department, who certainly lived up to their title this past week. If people drive past the community center, you will see that the front entrance is blocked off. So if people ask, we did have some damage. Thankfully, not a ton of damage, considering how close we were to the tornado, but we did have some glass in some unstable areas in the front of the building that is currently going to be worked on. But if people could go around to the side by the pavilion, we'd appreciate that. So I have no other updates, but I'm open for any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Zeri. I heard you were in the building when that all went on.
I was in the only room without windows. So yes, so I was in the bathroom in the dark.
Okay, very good. Very good. Any questions for Ms. Zeri? Thank you, Teresa. Mayor Potter.
Thank you, Council President Smolik. I'll try to be brief. I'm going to start with just a resounding thank you to all the departments, and certainly the Service Department, led by Mr. Finaro, went above and beyond day after day during that time. I want to read a quick kind of synopsis of Mr. Finaro's report, who was unable to be here tonight. He wanted to also thank his team. He also wanted to thank our police and fire service for all of the help that they gave him and the department throughout those following days after the tornadoes and the storms. He wanted me to mention that we had a wastewater treatment plants that needed some attention, aka generators. He put out a lot of generators at traffic lights. The brush pile collected, I mentioned this before, it's 30 feet tall and 50 feet long, and the wood chip pile is about the same and growing. Also, from Mr. Finaro and myself, thanks to our residents for their patience and understanding, and thanks to all the council members that fielded phone calls, text messages, emails from our residents during that time. I know it was aggravating for a lot of our folks, but truthfully, we had opened up City Hall the following morning after the storm for people to come up and use the internet and charge phones, plug in oxygen. And Chief McAllister, I don't think we had a ton of people that came up. I think a handful came up and used the internet as much as anything, but we did make that available. And I think what it's a testament to, that not tons of people were here, is that neighbors were helping neighbors and people were helping people here in the community. And I think that's doesn't come as a surprise, but I think always worth noting and remembering that we live in one of the best places around here. And so thanks to all the neighbors, thanks to our fire department. I know that they went above and beyond with a couple of critical issues from residents with some health concerns. So again, no surprise from any one of the departments and from the character of our people. But just a big thank you to everybody. Joe did want me to mention that 529 gallons of unleaded fuel and 469 gallons of diesel fuel were used from Tuesday to the following Monday. And then, as Mr. Courtney had mentioned, the 306 bridge work, Joe said it will, in fact, and I texted him to get verification for this, it will, in fact, switch sides tomorrow. So.
But Joe didn't text you back that it was going to be done on time.
Say again? No, he did not. Joe does ask that council passes the legislation for the snow and ice truck tonight, so we can get that on order and get it here hopefully before winter time comes. And then for me, we just quickly, in the work session, I think talked a little bit, we've already talked about the riparian setbacks. Just mentioned the plow truck. Chief talked about the dash cams. Mr. Courtney talked about Cole Burton. Mr. Slapnicker talked about the amended appropriation. And we do have 24-R-58. That's a resolution by City Council appointing Willoughby City Council President Bob Carr, Robert E. Carr, to the Lake County 911 Program Review Committee. And that is pursuant to Section 12806 of the Ohio Revised Code. And if we all remember, Mayor Fiala had stopped in back in, I think it was May, mentioning that he was going to ask all the city councils in Western Lake County to pass a resolution appointing Mr. Carr as the legislative kind of representative per the Ohio Revised Code when it comes to this process. So just a quick summary is the state for a dozen years or so has really been working to pare down the number of dispatch centers in the state, county by county. This is an exercise to look at and get a recommendation from the county as to how few dispatch centers can be can remain. So to have our seat at the table, so to speak, you know, everyone knows that dispatch is housed here in Kirtland by the city of Willoughby and has been so for the last 4 years. By all accounts, it has worked out very well for the city of Kirtland. And so with that, I think it's really, really, really important for us to demonstrate as a Kirtland City government that we want to make sure that Willoughby Dispatch Center, Western Lake County Dispatch specifically, remains coming out of this process. I think the best way to do that is to make sure that Mr. Carr is the council president over in Willoughby. He is the Mayor Fiala's, kind of picked choice for that representation. It has to be a legislator, so a member of a council. So I think with Willoughby leading the way for Western Lake County Dispatch ultimately, because assuredly, I'll be really surprised if a recommendation isn't made to pare down the number of dispatch centers, and we want to make sure that Willoughby remains that and to kind of stand united as a Western Lake County entity or as a participant with the Willoughby Dispatch here in Western Lake County. I would ask council to pass that tonight so we can get Mr. Carr moving as that representative and have a voice at the table for the city of Kirtland.
Mayor, I've just got a couple questions.
Yep.
I'm going to backtrack a little bit on you just because I wanted to let you finish. I hope you're done.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Before I ask, through the tornado and all that, and you mentioned generators, you mentioned diesel fuel and all the fuel that we expended, and Julie touched on it early on. I use the word lessons learned. I think we've all done it through operations through the years. The question that I beg to ask is, do we have enough equipment really? Do we need more generators? Did we see through this that we could have utilized a half a dozen more generators or a dozen more generators to take care of lights and to take care of, things like that? Is that something that we can kind of get together and the administrative and the departments come back to us with some equipment that needs purchased?
1,000%, and I think as part of that capital discussion here in the next couple of months, I would definitely recommend that. The service director, public works director himself was I think one of our traffic lights was being run by his home personal generator. So meanwhile, his family was home in the partial dark, perhaps. I don't know that to be true, but it was his own generator.
Mr. Schultz and I talked earlier this afternoon, and I think it really, having the equipment available right now, going forward, learning from that and seeing that maybe we didn't have enough of the right equipment for a storm like that. Yes, I get it. 30 years, it's the last time we've seen something like that. But we do run into situations in the city of Kirtland with power quite a bit.
Yeah, and I think to your point, I mean, it was as widespread as it could be from north to south and west to east. So
yeah.
It's not impossible. I mean, yeah, like you said, 30-year storm, okay, but how many times have we said that 30-year storm, and then a year later or 6 months later, you're saying, well, that's a second 30-year storm in 6 months.
We were out for 3 days last year, correct? I believe in June, and then we had another.
Yeah, and that was a little less widespread, but nonetheless, it doesn't take much. I mean,
I'd be curious as well. There are some, I know that we often get funding for things that have to be specific to seniors in the senior center. But I saw some people mention the potential to get a generator for the senior center so that, because the one thing that my husband and I were talking about is if this had happened in February, what does that look like for people with no power for 7 days? So,
and Councilman
that may be
Fensterbeek,
something as well.
sorry not to interrupt. So actually, I did meet with Mr. Fernaro last week up at the service department, and we did have some savings from some capital things that have come in under budget. So as part of that discussion, we're looking at actually a couple additional generators to purchase already under this year's budget. To Ms. Simon's point, as far as the community center, that is going to have to be part of next year's budget discussion as far as a full building generator, because you're talking, much larger dollars. But as far as generators to operate some traffic lights and things like that, we could fund those within this current year budget. So we are actually currently looking at that.
Do the schools have a generator? Is that?
I don't think so.
You would think it's from a storm shelter type routine. They don't have one either?
No.
They were down at
Mr. Fenstermaker, per your topic, I didn't get to speak with Mr. Van Arnhem, and I did speak with the mayor and Mr. Fernaro and both chiefs earlier in the week on that subject. Like you say, Mr. Fernaro did have his generator for the one. We've got three or four packaging plants that need 50 amp generators. We did have quite a few generators that he was able to do, and we had a local electrician. I believe Mayor knows who I'm speaking of. Fantastic company. They do Induhia, exactly. They came out and gave Joe a hand hooking up two of them. Mike has looked into, I believe it was last year, at the community center. Community center is kind of unique because it's on being a 70s build, it's on a Delta system, which almost puts it as it's a three-phase power. It's not like hooking up to our homes where we just buy a Generac or a Kohler and you hook it up. You hook it up. It's easy. It's a little bit more complex to that. I'll follow up with with Mike, on that. That was looked into by Kiwanis and also myself a bit. I believe Mr. Hamer probably knows more on that. What was the deal with that in particular?
It requires a couple more rubber bands to run.
What was that?
A couple more rubber bands to run.
More rubber band, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, Scott probably knows a bit more on that. What was the deal with BK with that one on the?
It's just a whole other topic.
Yeah, okay. So we'll get a little more detail on that, on what it takes.
So really, we need a space somewhere in the community that if something like this should happen during a time where it could be deadly for people who are stuck in their home and can't get out, that there's a place somewhere in the community they could go, and if it can't be done at the community center, could it be done at the school, one of the school buildings, somewhere where the people could go?
Yep.
And
Right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's, I'm thinking of that, storm shelters and power outages and where would people go? Like,
I mean, well, we just know from Joe's neighbor across the street who is in her upper 80s and was by herself, and thank God a local resident went and hooked up, a gas powered.
Yeah.
And Joe had a shift to go fill it up with
I
gas so
dropped
that
off 3 or 4 generators myself too.
so that she could get 2 lights and a refrigerator.
right.
So-
I think my whole concern was, or not concern, what is a concern? What did we learn from it to make sure that if it ever does happen again, we're a little better prepared, right? It's just like, The operation side, we do it all the time. We call it lessons learned. Hey, we launched a project. What didn't go well, and what can we fix to make sure when we launch the next project that's addressed? So it's kind of the same thing, but now we're talking about people's lives. Thankfully, nobody lost their life, right?
Right.
And we're very fortunate there. We got power back in 3 days, some 4. Very fortunate there. But it still made it very difficult on the residents. So anything that we learned from that can make it better next time is a win. That's really what I was.
And to that point, Mr. Fenstermaker, it was an excellent, I don't mean to say it the wrong way, but dry run for the fact that it was 60 to 80 degrees. It was comfortable. It wasn't 95 degrees outside, so
I
people.
don't know about you, but my house was a little over 80.
I was in the basement. You got to go in the basement. That's
Yeah, I
right.
was down there
I'm
too.
usually in the basement. Just Helen throws me raw chicken down there on occasion, but that's where she usually keeps me anyhow. So, but pertaining to the on the residential side, I don't want this to come out the wrong way, but okay, the average. What's the median household in Kirtland, or median house appraised value in Kirtland's $400,000. $500 gets you a 2,000 watt generator. They'll keep your refrigerators on. Make the investment. You get $500,000. You could get a 2,000 watt generator. Go to Costco. 2,000 to 3,000 watt generator you could get for $500 to $1,000. That'll run both refrigerators. I ran laundry on it. Ran various other appliances on it. Make the investment if you don't have it. It doesn't take much. It doesn't cost a whole lot. You got $400,000 house. You put $500 to $1,000. Buy a small 2,000 watt generator, 3,000. You're good to go. Especially if you have a fireplace in colder weather. So,
Okay.
but if you want to run fireplaces, you're going to need 8,000 to 10,000 watts. So just give you a heads up on that. So,
All right. Can we move on to talk about 24R58 for a second?
yes, definitely.
Okay, so Kevin, Mayor, my next comments and questions are regarding 24R59, and Mr. Schultz already touched on it also, but I really want to make sure we're getting updates on the activity of that committee, understanding what's being proposed. If Mr. Carr is representing the city of Kirtland and this whole thing, I really want to know what it entails, the whole shot from what's being presented by the county, what's being explored, what costs are associated with it, all that information that he's going to be representing, Willoughby and the city of Kirtland. I think as this council sits and as administration sits, we're going to want to understand that. I don't want to wait until we get legislation for something put in front of us.
Yeah, totally agreed. I think it's not only a fair request, but I think it's the right thing to do. So I will call Mayor Fiala tomorrow, is my hope, and then we'll make sure that even if Mr. Carr comes during work sessions or regular council meeting, or if we have to have a special meeting, and beyond that, or even before that, to get some regular email correspondence.
Thank you. Appreciate it. That's all I had.
Thank you.
Mr. Hamer, do you have any questions pertaining to that?
Mayor, I have
Sorry.
a couple
Councilman Schultz.
questions. Any update on Ohio Gig?
Boy, I wish Mr. Gibbs would have stayed. Yeah, so there's been some correspondence back and forth with them. There was I think he had a phone call with them last week, just kind of trying to establish what their needs are, where those needs are physical location still, and then how the city can help accommodate those, and then what the reciprocation would be from their side to the city for those accommodations. They need, what's it called, a POP, Matt or Scott?
Point of presence.
Point of presence. And so that's something we're discussing. And then potentially they're going to need some space during construction. So another thing that we're talking about, I know Jim Gibbs had again had that conversation. We had a quick Zoom meeting last Friday. Me, Mr. Hamer, Mr. Lallo, and Mr. Slapnicker, just kind of talking about what we needed to get them still.
Mayor, have they given us any time frame yet? Like any?
I know. So they're getting moving in was it Hunting Valley, I think. So they're itching to start. I mean, 3 or 4 months ago they were talking about starting by the end of the year, which I think is still possible, but I wouldn't bank on that either. But sooner than later.
A lot of moving parts. Like they want to lease some lines coming through so they don't have to build them, so they have to deal with Windstream and AT&T and things of that nature. But they're just as anxious as all of us.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Thank you.
The last question regarding the utility commission's findings on the possible fee increase to maintain the package plants. Has there been any movement on?
We need to get that together.
Take it away, Mr. Hamer.
We need to set up a meeting, in the council comments, I was going to ask to set that meeting up.
So Mr. Hamer, myself, we'll try to set that up today in the, next section, actually. Commissioner, standing committee report, so. And basically, once we get that committee report, we can make the recommendations. Because I believe Mr. Fernaro has all the numbers together for us on the capital and stuff that we need to do. Mr. Schultz, anything else related to that, sir?
No, thank you.
Mayor, continue on, please.
Oh, I'm still open for questions if you have any.
Any other questions for the mayor? Not at this point. Okay, on to standing committee reports. Mr. Hamer, you want to try to put one together then for October or September?
As soon as possible, to be honest, would be.
Okay. Let's look at second meeting in September possibly, just to give Mr. Bernard a heads up to get us to the, I think he has all the numbers involved, or capital.
So this is actually a commission meeting, not a committee meeting?
I was just going to ask. Yeah, it's separate from council.
Correct. Okay, so how do we go about that properly?
So really, I think Mr. Smolik and I, because he's obviously has a seat on the commission, myself,
And
Mr.
Hamer's
Slapnicker, Mr. Courtney, and the Public Works Director, Mr. Hamer. So if that is in fact your point.
So what's the proper procedure on that, Mr. Level?
Well, I mean,
Set a date.
Just set that up on the side, so to speak.
Correct.
Give everybody a heads
Correct.
up.
Yeah,
Okay.
council doesn't need to be involved in planning that or scheduling that. You just
Okay.
got to set a date and a purpose for the meeting, and then make sure Ms. Musk
Mr. Hamer,
is
I'll
aware
put
of
out an
it
email
and
for
notify
yourself.
us.
Obviously, should be myself, you, Mayor, Mr. Courtney, and Mr. Fernaro, correct?
Let's get that date set before the end of this week,
I will
please.
put out an email tomorrow on that, please.
Is it
Thank you.
something we just want to do on a Saturday?
I think that's because so it's going to go out to all the residents of those, the 140 or so residents.
I
So
think it needs to be at a really convenient public time.
okay, you're good at this.
Okay, anything else pertaining to standing committee reports? I don't believe we have anything actively going right now. Anybody need to send anything up? Okay, on to correspondence. Lake County Board of Elections, August 13th, 2024, public comments on matters not on the agenda.
Yeah, Mr. Council President, the correspondence from the Board of Elections, it was just a confirmation from the Secretary of State's office regarding the ballot
Pertaining
proposal.
to our,
The Secretary of State approved the language that we had set forth from the ordinance. So just confirming it and acknowledging it, that's all it was.
when will that be, when will they print those ballots, so to speak, or be on the election board? Would that be?
I don't know the answer to that,
All right.
but I do know that it's been approved and we're good to go.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Anything else I need to do with that, Mr. Lella?
Nope.
Thank you, sir. Okay, on to old business. Public comments on agenda items of old business. Any public comments at this point? Thank you. On to ordinance number 24-0-53, third reading, an ordinance amending codified sections 1294.04, 1294.05, 1294.06, 1294.07, 1294.08, 1294.09, 1294.10, 1294.11, 1294.12, and 1294.99 relating to riparian setbacks and declaring an emergency. Any discussion at this point? Questions? Okay, we need to, motion to declare an emergency
And adopt.
and adopt.
So moved.
Ms. Simon.
Ms. Schultz and Ms. Simmons?
Mrs. Schultz and Ms. Simon.
Did I say Ms. Schultz and Mr. Simmons? Oops. Did I? Okay. It is a little weird politically out there right now, so.
Is there any discussion on the motion?
And we had a second? Okay. Ms.
Ms.
Muscatello?
Grazia,
Yes.
Mr. Hamer,
Yes.
Mr. Schultz,
Yes.
Mr. Smolik.
Yes.
Ms. Simons,
Yes.
Mr. Ziegler, oh, Mr. Fenstermaker.
Yes.
And that's all we needed, or did we?
Yes.
Okay, that's all we needed on that one, correct? Third reading? Okay, now we're on to ordinance 24-0-54. I believe the mayor said
Yes.
wanted to do the second reading on this one, correct? Okay, second reading, an ordinance, the authorized director of public service to enter into a contract to purchase one Freightliner plow truck from Concord Road Equipment Manufacturing and declaring an emergency. Looking for a motion to waive the third reading.
Motion to waive third reading.
Second.
Ron and Julie. Any discussion on the topic? Questions? Ms. Muscatello?
Ms. Grazia,
Yes.
Mr. Hamer,
Yes.
Mr. Schultz,
Yes.
Mr. Smolik,
Yes.
Ms. Simons,
Yes.
Mr. Fenstermaker.
Yes.
Now we're looking for a motion to declare an emergency and to adopt.
So moved.
Second.
Matt and Sue. Any discussion or questions? Roll call, please.
Ms. Grazia,
Yes.
Mr. Hamer,
Yes.
Mr. Schultz,
Yes.
Mr. Smolik.
Yes.
Ms. Simons,
Yes.
Mr. Fenstermaker.
Yes.
Thank you. On to new business. Ordinance number 24-0-55.
Hold on one
Miss
second. There was a typo in the agenda.
Typo?
After the new business, we should first have entertained public comments on
Oh,
items.
sorry, missed the bottom.
Agenda items of new business.
Okay. Okay. Any public comment on new business on the agenda? Not at this time, thank you. Okay, on to new business. Ordinance number, thank you, Matt. Ordinance number 24-0-55, an ordinance amending section 822.04 of the codified ordinances of the city of Kirtland regarding the hours of business for canvassers and solicitors and declaring an emergency. Did we going second reading on this one, second, third reading?
My request is to waive the three readings on this, just so that we can get all the ordinances passed and updated, and then we could send it off to the publisher to update the website.
Okay, very good. Oh, okay. Looking for a motion to waive the three readings.
Motion to waive the three readings.
Second.
Julie and Sue. Thank you. Any discussion on this ordinance? None at this time. Ms. Muscatello?
Ms. Grazia,
Yes.
Mr. Hamer,
Yes.
Mr. Schultz,
Yes.
Mr. Smolik,
Yes.
Ms. Simons,
Yes.
Mr. Fenstermaker.
Yes.
On to motion to declare an emergency and to adopt.
So moved.
Second.
Matt and Sue. Any discussion?
I'd just like to say that I'm really appreciative council was quick and attentive in meeting some of the needs of the folks, especially in Ward 1, and so they have smoother evenings, let's put
I
it that way.
appreciate you bringing it up, Councilman Schultz. Appreciate you bringing it up. Any other discussion? Janelle?
Ms. Grazia,
Yes.
Mr. Hamer,
Yes.
Mr. Schultz,
Yes.
Mr. Smolik,
Yes.
Ms. Simons,
Yes.
Mr. Fenstermaker.
Yes.
Thank you. On to ordinance number 24-R-56, a resolution authorizing the chief of police to purchase dashboard cameras for the police department cruisers from Motorola Solutions Incorporated and declaring an emergency. Any questions for the chief pertaining to the cameras we discussed earlier? Any
Chief,
comments?
I just comments wise, I just want to thank you once again for doing the work on this and getting this in place. Thank you.
Thank you. Much appreciated, Chief. Thank you. We're looking for a motion to waive the three readings.
Motion to waive the three readings.
Second.
Let's see. Running.
Okay.
Julie, sorry.
Ms.
Thank you.
Grazia,
Yes.
Mr. Hamer,
Yes.
Mr. Schultz,
Yes.
Mr. Smolik,
Yes.
Ms. Simons,
Yes.
Mr. Fenstermaker.
Yes.
Looking for a motion to declare an
keep-
emergency and to adopt.
So moved.
Second.
It's Matt and Ron. Any discussion on the matter? Janelle?
Ms. Grazia,
Yes.
Mr. Hamer,
Yes.
Mr. Schultz,
Yes.
Mr. Smolik,
Yes.
Ms. Simons,
Yes.
Mr. Fenstermaker.
Yes.
Okay, on to ordinance number 24-R-57, a resolution authorizing the closeout of the contract with Cole Burton Contractors for its work on sections 2 and 2A of the 2023 pavement rehabilitation project and declaring an emergency. Did we need to put this through, Mr. Courtney? Mr. Slavik? Okay, yes?
Yes, please.
Okay, so I guess I'm looking for a motion to waive the 3 readings.
Motion to waive the 3 readings.
Second?
Thank you. Any
Ms. Gratz,
discussion?
oh, sorry.
Any discussion on the matter? Go right ahead, thank you.
Ms. Grazia?
Yes.
Mr. Hamer?
Yes.
Mr. Schultz?
Yes.
Mr. Smolik?
Yes,
Ms. Simons?
Yes.
Mr. Fenstermaker?
Yes.
thank you. Now we're looking for a motion to declare an emergency and to adopt.
So moved.
Second.
Matt and Ron beat you to the punch there, Julie, so any discussion?
Mr. Courtney, I see that the original number set forth was around 150,000, and it looks like there's quite a bit of money that was not expended. Was there a change of scope that caused such a significant savings?
No, just didn't use contingencies that were part of the contract.
Is it a lot of base repair that was anticipated that?
We always have some extra items in the contract as contingencies in case we run over on things like base repairs or that kind of thing. And in this case, we were pretty tight to the base section of the contract.
Okay, all right, thank you much.
And we were on the motion to declare an emergency and adopt, correct?
Yes.
Any other discussion? Janelle?
Ms. Grazia?
Yes.
Mr. Hamer?
Yes.
Mr. Schultz?
Yes.
Mr. Smolik?
Yes,
Ms. Simons?
Yes.
Mr. Fenstermaker?
Yes.
thank you. Ordinance number 24-R-58, a resolution by the Kirtland City Council appointing Willoughby City Council President Robert E. Carr to Lake County 911 Program to Review Committee pursuant of section, is that 128.06, Matt?
Yes.
A-5
Yes.
of the Ohio Revised Code and declaring an emergency. And we're looking to pass this evening also.
Motion to waive the 3 readings?
Second.
Julie, any discussion on the subject? None at this time. Janelle?
Ms. Grazia?
Yes.
Mr. Hamer?
Yes.
Mr. Schultz?
Yes.
Mr. Smolik?
Yes.
Ms. Simons?
Yes.
Mr. Fenstermaker?
Yes.
I'm looking for a motion to declare an emergency and to adopt.
So moved.
Second.
Yes. Thank you. Any discussion? Janelle?
Okay.
Ms. Muscatello?
Ms. Grazia?
Yes.
Mr. Hamer?
Yes.
Mr. Schultz?
Yes.
Mr. Smolik?
Yes.
Ms. Simons?
Yes.
Mr. Fenstermaker?
Yes.
Okay, on to ordinance number 24-R-59, an ordinance amending ordinance number 24-O-38 relating to the appropriation for the year 2024. And for Mr. Fenstermaker's discussion before. And obviously, we're looking to waive and pass today.
Yes, and I provided council with a line item detail changes. Just, we can go over as much detail as you want, but just some high level. The fire department was awarded the AFG grant for, it's in total about $100,000. We have a $5,000 match, so the grant funds is $95,000. That's the line item ending in 4202 new equipment you'll see for $100,000. The fire department also received a grant in the amount of $18,836. That's what you see on that sheet under Fund 214. Again, there's no cost to the city on that one as well. Going back to the wastewater treatment plants and the generators, I can't stress enough how important that commission meeting is going to be. We're amending in Fund 500 for an additional $3,500 and in Fund 501 an additional $8,500 for generator rental and electrical hookup. Those funds, and we've talked about this in every budget meeting, are severely low and at risk of going negative, okay? And that's even without much capital improvements at all, okay? So I did want to stress the importance of that meeting and those funds specifically. We have $40,000 attributed to the community center parking lot in this amendment. So originally we do have a $50,000 carryover grant from the county, but some quotes are coming in around $82,000 to $85,000. So that gives us enough buffer that if any price changes were to reflect in there, we're well covered. So that's part of that. And then we have another $40,000 in statutory contractual things like our income tax collections. Since our revenue is up, so is the expenditures, in addition to our property tax increases as well. So of that, that kind of accounts for around 65% of what's in this amendment. Some other miscellaneous things would be some rain gear for the service department, increased maintenance for some vehicle maintenance outside, and that sort of thing. Lastly, you see in Fund 217, which is the last of our ARPA funds from those 2 tranches that we got a couple years ago. We did have some money for the broadband study, which that is already taken care of, and that came in under budget. So we're reallocating those funds for capital improvements for the roads, which is around $10,000. So that's kind of the high-level review of it. Any additional questions? But I would like this, if possible, to pass this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Flapnecker. Any questions pertaining to that? Okay, and I believe we were on looking for a motion to waive the 3 readings.
Motion to waive the 3 readings.
A second?
Thank you. Any discussion? Ms. Muscatello?
Ms. Grazia?
Yes.
Mr. Hamer?
Yes.
Mr. Schultz?
Yes.
Mr. Smolik?
Yes.
Ms. Simons?
Yes.
Mr. Fenstermaker?
Yes.
Yeah, we don't need a motion.
It would be a motion to adopt.
Just a motion to adopt, correct? Okay, a motion to adopt, please.
So moved.
Second.
And Julie, thank you.
Schultz.
Any
Is that
discussions?
Grazia?
Simons.
Simons.
Ms. Muscatello?
Ms. Grazia?
Yes.
Mr. Hamer?
Yes.
Mr. Schultz?
Yes.
Mr. Smolik?
Yes.
Ms. Simons?
Yes.
Mr. Fenstermaker?
Yes.
Jump over, you're right. Looking at ordinance number 24-R-60, an ordinance amending section 254.25 of the codified ordinances of the city of Kirtland regarding deferred compensation and declaring an emergency. Do we need this one? Can this go second, third reading?
I would ask that this be passed again, so it's part of the codified ordinances that can be updated on our website.
Okay. Any discussion or questions pertaining to this ordinance?
Motion to waive the 3 readings.
Second.
Mr. Schultz, motion to waive. Mr. Fenstermaker, second. Any discussions? Ms. Muscatello?
Ms. Grazia?
Yes.
Mr. Hamer?
Yes.
Mr. Schultz?
Yes.
Mr. Smolik?
Yes.
Ms. Simons?
Yes.
Mr. Fenstermaker?
Yes.
Looking for a motion to declare an emergency and to adopt?
So moved.
Second.
Getting around. Thank you. Any discussion? Ms. Muscatello?
Ms. Grazia?
Yes.
Mr. Hamer?
Yes.
Mr. Schultz?
Yes.
Mr. Smolik?
Yes.
Ms. Simons?
Yes.
Mr. Fenstermaker?
Yes.
Thank you. We're on to council comments. Any council comments at this point?
I would like to just publicly commend Julie Simons for the amount of communication she had on Facebook during the storms. I many times screenshotted your things and sent it to people, so that was very nice of you to be very communicative as the public relations chair, so thank you so much for that.
Thank you, Jim.
Also, perhaps having a September 4th police and fire committee meeting to dovetail on what Ron had said about just taking stock of some equipment, understanding wants, needs, in anticipation of the capital budgeting discussion that's going to start early. And then also maybe looking at some best practices, or if there's something that other, you guys are doing this every day and talking with other chiefs, perhaps more or less educating council on what best practices can be put in place and what equipment or gear you need is what it's coming down to make citizens' lives better here in such a tough time.
Mr. Schultz, September 4th, is that our next meeting, council meeting then?
Yeah, it's Wednesday.
You want to do it before or after? I believe you're the chairperson on that?
Mayor, is there anything else that you're anticipating in the before, or Louis, relative to finance, or?
Does it make sense to do that as police and fire, knowing that there may be some needs from the service department as well, that it,
Well, we could put an email to Joe.
those need to be separate, or can we? Yeah, that's kind of what I'm asking. I don't know if that's.
We can. We can do a joint if you want.
Okay, you can take the minute.
Yeah. Janelle, that'd be a
ChatGPT.
police and fire committee meeting along with a service committee meeting.
Mr. Slapdinger just brought up a potentially interesting concept or idea. So since he's already going to be meeting with the department heads in September related to capital, maybe we do it toward the end of September.
Okay, second.
And if they've had a chance, and then we'll just do a finance meeting at council as a whole. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Whatever helps educate us and what their needs are, and you know what I mean? And that's.
I mean, it's up to you guys, but I thought that
Yeah,
might be
I
a
think
good-
I have already Teresa on the books, I believe for September 18th. I'm not sure how that falls in case we need the first meeting in October for that. I'm not sure. I don't have this. Yeah.
Oh, right. To time it up with a council meeting, you're saying?
I just for reference, I'd like to have it sooner than later because it's still fresh in all their minds what their needs are. The whirlwind's going to start. Things are going to move on, and then we're going to lose sight of some of the things that we just went through. So I would like to have it sooner than later,
The only point I will,
if we could.
Go ahead, yeah.
possibly Lewis on that is, you talking for the September 16th meeting then, or a separate meeting altogether?
I already reached out to all the department heads. I believe it was Teresa's the 18th, which I think is a Tuesday or a Wednesday, I believe. It's a Wednesday. So we could either bump up the department meetings, which is going to add added pressure to get them that information sooner, or we could leave it as that week, and then we can compile everything, and then we could have a finance meeting on the first meeting of October and present to council, our findings that way. Totally up to council, though.
I would concur, since you got the meeting, since you've already got that planned, as opposed to pressing you to get it earlier. So you tell us what works best with you on that schedule?
Yeah, and I did ask for a 3-year, so that is going to be some information for them to compile, so that might buy them some additional time. But again, it's completely up to council.
Well, the 16th is before their meeting, so.
It's only before her meeting, right? You'll have met with police and fire before the 16th?
I can bump those meetings up a week. I don't see a problem with it.
That would be.
And then that way, we're still on pace for the second meeting of
I
September.
just think it'd be good if we could have that committee meeting the 16th.
I'll send
It's
out
still fresh in all their minds. I think it'd just be good to get it.
I will send out an email first thing in the morning and reschedule those.
Louis, would you
get her done?
Louis, would you
Thanks,
prefer
Louis.
a pre-council meeting or post-council meeting on that one, on the 16th?
Pre,
okay. So tentatively, finance committee meeting at 6 o'clock or 6:30?
Well, no, this is a joint police.
Joint police and.
We're not going to do this as a finance meeting?
No, the finance I thought was after the assessment. Right, Joe? Once we discuss and then they present.
Okay, so
Unless you wanted,
police and fire and service at 6, and then a finance meeting at 6:30? Or are we talking separate days on that?
Okay, so I'm going to back it up. So the intention of Lewis meeting with them is because he's preparing on the capital budget, which will go right in line with what we want to learn to understand what their needs are. But it is a police, fire, and service department meeting,
Okay, so,
committee, standing committees, that will have that information available.
okay, so you want to do that 6:30 then on the September 16th meeting?
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock?
How's that?
Work with you, Mr. Slapnicker?
Works. Does that work?
Sir.
Because you'll have the numbers. It's not necessarily a finance meeting, but we'll understand what
And
they're
no finance meeting at this point, then we'll look for October possibly. Okay, we are at continuing concerns. Any continuing concerns? Unity?
Just the timing of your meetings. The timing.
My timing of my meetings are exquisite. Looking for a motion. Looking for a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.